written in simple, clean, and engaging English, third-person style. Around 1,300 words, the stars were silent witnesses to the final chapter of humanity's rebellion. Commander Elias Ward stood on the observation deck of the orbital flagship Vigilant Dawn, looking down at Earth. The planet was scarred from centuries of occupation, yet it shone with the resilience of life. Oceans sparkled, forests grew quietly, and cities, though battered, still stood proud. "Do you think they'll return?" Lena Ortega asked, standing beside him. Her voice was calm but carried the tension of countless battles. Ward shook his head slowly. "They might, but they've learned something fundamental. Humans do not bend. We endure, we fight, and when cornered, we rise higher than they can imagine." Lena nodded, her eyes reflecting the glow of the Earth below. "Then we build a future they cannot touch." The Thalkesh Dominion was in retreat. The losses inflicted by the Terran Ascendancy had shattered their confidence. Their fleets scattered across multiple systems. Communications between sectors broke down, colonies questioned orders, and morale plummeted. Yet the humans did not celebrate carelessly. Ward knew that victory was fragile, and the cost had been immense. Every freed colony came with scars, damaged infrastructure, lives lost, and families torn apart. The Ascendancy had become a caretaker of humanity's past and future simultaneously. "Commanders," Ward addressed his council via hologram, "our fight has not been easy, but we are not finished. Every human, every world, every star we protect carries the legacy of those who suffered under the Dominion. Let us honor them by building a galaxy where no species is ever enslaved." Again, the first step in that new future was securing Earth. Human engineers worked tirelessly to repair orbital defense platforms and rebuild cities. Farmers replanted fields, and scientists repaired ecosystems damaged by alien industry. Every act of restoration was a victory, a statement that humanity was reclaiming its home, not just with force, but with care. Lena walked through a restored city square, watching children play under a blue sky. For the first time in generations, laughter returned to the streets. The Thalkesh had tried to erase humanity's spirit, but it had survived. Dormant and ready to flourish again, a young boy ran past, carrying a toy ship, pretending to lead an attack against imaginary enemies. Lena smiled. "They'll grow up remembering courage, not fear," she said softly. Far from Earth, liberated colonies began connecting. Mars, Titan, and other worlds established communications networks to coordinate trade, defense, and education. Human ingenuity spread quickly. Jonas, once a young engineer hacking a communications array, now led a coalition of engineers across multiple worlds. "We don't just rebuild," he said to his team, "we advance. We take the knowledge the Dominion hoarded and use it to create a galaxy where humans and allies can thrive." His words inspired others. Laboratories on Mars began producing sustainable energy systems. Schools opened to teach history, science, and exploration. Human culture, long suppressed, bloomed again. In orbit above a liberated Mars, Ward observed a convoy of human vessels returning from the frontier. They carried families, supplies, and pioneers ready to reclaim distant worlds. "They'll need protection," Lena said. "The Dominion may strike again." Ward's eyes narrowed. "Let them come. We are ready. But we fight not out of hatred. We fight to protect freedom." He looked at the stars, each one a reminder of worlds still in shadow. "And we will not stop until every human has a home where no one can demand gratitude for survival." Meanwhile, the remnants of the Dominion attempted to regroup. Overseer Virel, once confident and cruel, now faced dissent within his ranks. His officers questioned the costs of following a species that refused to submit. Civil unrest spread among alien colonies that had once feared reprisal. Virel's silver eyes glowed with anger. "They are only humans," he hissed. "They cannot change the course of the galaxy." Yet even he could not deny the truth. Humans had become a force unlike any other. Their adaptability, ingenuity, and spirit had transformed them from subjects into legends. The Terran Ascendancy sent envoys to alien civilizations, offering alliances based on respect, equality, and shared goals. Many species that had suffered under the Dominion's rule joined the coalition. Together they established a council to maintain peace and protect freedom across liberated systems. Ward addressed the first assembly of the Galactic Freedom Council via hologram. We fought not to dominate but to protect. We fought not for revenge but for justice. Today we stand together as equals, bound by a promise that no species will ever be forced to kneel. Across the galaxy, representatives bowed in agreement, inspired by humans who had endured the unendurable and emerged victorious. Back on Earth, Ward visited the oldest monuments in the world. The ruins of once great cities had been partially restored, and new monuments were being built to honor the fallen. Lena walked beside him. "Do you think the galaxy will remember us?" she asked. Ward looked at the horizon, where the sun rose over mountains and forests. "They will, not just because we fought, but because we refused to forget who we were. Humanity is not just survival, it is courage, hope, and resilience." They paused before a statue dedicated to unknown heroes of the rebellion. Ward placed his hand on its cold stone. "Every life lost, every hardship endured is part of our story, and it will inspire generations to come." In the following months, the Terran Ascendancy turned its attention to exploration. Human fleets charted distant star systems, discovering planets rich with life and resources. Colonies were established not through conquest, but through cooperation with other species. Humanity's legacy was no longer defined by the oppression they had suffered, but by the worlds they helped to nurture. Children on Earth studied history, learning of the Thalkesh occupation and the sacrifices of countless humans. The stories of courage were no longer whispers in hidden archives. They were taught openly, inspiring a new generation to dream beyond their home planet. Lena visited a school, watching a young girl draw ships in the sky. "They will surpass us," she whispered to Ward. Ward smiled. "Yes, and they will remember that freedom is worth fighting for." In the far reaches of space, remnants of the Dominion existed, but their power was broken. Their fleets were scattered, their colonies independent or allied with the Ascendancy. Overseer Virel, stripped of command, retreated to a distant system, realizing that fear alone could not govern the galaxy. Humans had not only survived, they had reshaped the universe's perception of strength. Intelligence, courage, and unity had proven stronger than tyranny. On the orbital deck of Vigilant Dawn, Ward and Lena watched Earth rotate beneath them. Its blue oceans and green lands seemed to glow brighter after centuries of darkness. Ward spoke softly, almost to himself. "They expected gratitude, but we delivered something far greater. Retribution with purpose. We reminded the galaxy what humanity truly is." Lena smiled, placing her hand over his. "And we did it without losing who we are." "That is the real victory," Ward nodded. "The dawn is here, not just for Earth, but for every human across the stars. They will never forget that we fight not because we must, but because we choose to rise." The stars sparkled in silent acknowledgement. Across the galaxy, human colonies thrived, new alliances flourished, and the message of courage, ingenuity, and hope spread. Humanity had endured occupation, oppression, and despair. But in the end, they had prevailed, not through sheer numbers, not through alien technology alone, but through the indomitable human spirit. The galaxy would remember, for they had learned the truth. Humans do not thank oppressors. Humans deliver retribution, and when they rise, the universe takes notice. The day the Galactic Concord arrived, the sky above Earth turned silver. Massive ships shining like floating cities appeared over every continent. Their arrival was calm, silent, and terrifying in its perfection. There was no invasion, no explosions, no panic at first, only awe. News channels broadcasted images of the alien ships hovering above oceans, deserts, and cities. Each ship carried the same emblem, an endless circle surrounded by 6 stars. The Concorde called it a symbol of unity. To the people of Earth, it looked like an eye that never blinked. When the first message came through, it was soft and clear, spoken in every human language at once. "People of Earth, we come in peace. You have suffered long enough under your own conflicts. We bring harmony, healing, and guidance. Accept our hand and step into a brighter age." At first, it sounded like a miracle. After all, Earth was tired. Nations had spent years rebuilding from climate disasters and wars. Many people believed maybe, just maybe, this was a gift from the stars. Humanity had dreamed for centuries about contact with intelligent life. Now that dream floated above them in silver ships. World leaders gathered in emergency meetings. Some were cautious, some were thrilled, but one thing united them all. No one dared say no to a fleet that could block out the sun. A week later, the Conquered landed their first delegation. Their ships opened like blooming flowers, revealing tall figures in flowing white armor. They were elegant, with pale metallic skin that shimmered like glass under sunlight. Their eyes were deep, calm, and unreadable. The Conquered spoke of peace, of ending hunger, disease, and poverty. They offered new medicines, energy devices, and technology that could purify water or repair wounds instantly. They said humanity had earned the right to join the galactic family. People cheered. Politicians smiled. The word salvation was used too many times, but not everyone trusted them. Commander Evelyn Cross, a retired astronaut, watched the alien broadcast from her small cabin in Montana. She had spent 20 years training to explore the stars, yet now, the stars had come to her doorstep and they didn't come as friends. She leaned forward, studying the alien ambassador's smooth, perfect smile. "No one offers peace for free," she whispered. Her old friend, Dr. Marcus Hale, called that night. He was a systems engineer working for Earth Defense Command. His voice was low and tense. "Evelyn, you need to see this. The Conquered's energy transmissions. They're not just broadcasting peace messages. They're mapping every power grid on the planet." Her heart tightened. "Mapping? For what?" He hesitated. "For control, I think. They can disable our satellites in seconds." Evelyn looked up at the night sky. The ships above seemed like stars, but stars didn't move in formation. Within a month, Earth changed. The Conquered replaced human governments with what they called advisory councils. Their diplomats sat beside human leaders, always smiling, always offering advice that slowly became commands. New laws were introduced: no weapons production, no military coordination, no independent satellite networks. Everything was for peace. They brought miracle machines that produced food out of thin air and water purifiers that could clean oceans. But those machines only worked when connected to Conquered energy lines. When people tried to replicate or open them, they shut down instantly. It didn't take long for humanity to become dependent. Hospitals, power plants, even communication towers, all ran on Conquered power. People still lived their lives, but quietly, like guests in their own homes. Evelyn began collecting reports. Farmers losing their equipment after refusing Conquered's support. Small towns suddenly going dark after questioning alien advisors. Students being taught that humanity had been saved by the Conquered's kindness. The Conquered called it education. Evelyn called it rewriting history. 6 months later, the first real protest broke out in New Delhi. Thousands of people marched, holding banners that read, "We didn't ask for saviors." The Conquered watched from their ships. The next day, the city's power grid failed. Hospitals stopped working. Communication went silent. When the power returned, no one spoke of the protest again. The official story said it was a technical malfunction. But Evelyn's contacts said something else. People had vanished. Entire neighborhoods emptied overnight. That was the day she decided to act. Evelyn reopened contact with her old network of explorers, scientists, and engineers. She gathered them quietly, spreading her message through hidden frequencies. If they think we're going to thank them, they're wrong. We didn't survive Ice Age's wars and famines just to kneel now. The resistance began in whispers. A hidden base was set up under an abandoned observatory in Chile. There, Marcus and his team hacked into Conquered transmissions. They discovered the aliens had been studying human DNA, not to cure diseases, but to identify what they called adaptive anomalies. In one decoded message, Evelyn read the truth that froze her blood. The human species possesses unstable genetic evolution. Their creativity and emotional unpredictability may pose long-term control risks. Integration must proceed within 5 planetary rotations. Integration. It was a word that sounded harmless, but to Evelyn, it meant something terrible. They weren't liberating humanity. They were preparing to absorb it. Meanwhile, the Conquered's public relations continued. On global broadcasts, their silver-eyed ambassadors spoke of progress and friendship. They built healing centers and cultural academies. They said humanity was entering a golden age. People clapped. But the smiles were growing thinner. Even the most hopeful began to notice that every favor came with chains. In schools, children were taught that Earth's wars had ended because humans surrendered their primitive pride. In workplaces, New alien supervisors spoke of efficiency through unity. In hospitals, conquered healers said that emotions were disruptive to recovery. Humanity's fire, its chaos, its passion, its stubbornness, was slowly being drained away. One cold night, Evelyn stood on a hill overlooking her town. A massive conquered ship floated above the clouds, casting a silver glow that covered everything in pale light. She thought of how the aliens had come with smiles and gifts, and how the world had said thank you. But gratitude had become dependence, and dependence had become silence. She clenched her fists. They want us quiet. They want us tamed. Marcus's voice came through her comm device. Evelyn, I found something. It's big. What is it? A hidden file in their network. A list of human leaders marked as obsolete assets. They're replacing them with conquered appointed governors. Her stomach sank. When? Within the month. Evelyn looked at the glowing ship once more. Its lights pulsed like a heartbeat. Calm, measured, watching. They think we'll thank them for it, she said softly. But they don't understand us at all. 2 days later, the first human broadcast was shut down after airing a simple message. We were not saved. We were claimed. That same night, Evelyn's small team launched their first act of defiance. They transmitted a coded message across old Earth satellite networks, one that the conquered couldn't fully block. It was short, powerful, and very human. We remember. We resist. For a moment across the world, millions of humans saw those words flash across screens and devices before they went dark again. In homes, in shelters, in underground tunnels, people whispered them like a promise. The spark of retribution had been lit. Evelyn stood in her hidden base. Surrounded by glowing monitors and exhausted faces, she looked at her people, scientists, engineers, soldiers, and even farmers, ordinary humans who refused to bow. This isn't over, she said. They think peace means control. They think gratitude means obedience. They're wrong. Her eyes burned with quiet determination. We're going to remind them what humans really are. Months had passed since the Galactic Concord's liberation of Earth. What once looked like salvation now felt like occupation. Their ships still hung in the skies like silent moons that never left. The world looked peaceful on the surface, but everyone could feel the control tightening. Softly, quietly, like a noose made of silk. The Concord's first step was always kindness. They brought technology that could grow crops in deserts, heal wounds in seconds, and create energy from air. People praised them for ending hunger and disease. But each miracle came with a condition. Only conquered technicians could operate the machines. Only conquered power cores could make them work. At first, no one questioned it. Why would they? Life was easier, cleaner, safer. But slowly the dependence began to show. When one conquered energy hub went offline in Brazil, millions of homes went dark. When a conquered transport drone malfunctioned over Europe, entire food deliveries stopped for weeks. Humanity couldn't repair or replace anything. They didn't understand how the alien machines worked. The conquered called it temporary. Inconvenience. Evelyn Cross called it what it was: control through kindness. From her hidden base beneath the Andes, Commander Evelyn watched the global newsfeed. Every broadcast looked the same now. Perfect smiling faces, calm alien voices, and the same message repeated daily. Harmony through unity. Unity through gratitude. Evelyn muted the screen and turned to her team. Around the dimly lit room, humans worked on old computers powered by hand-built generators. The air smelled of oil and burned circuits. It wasn't much, but it was freedom. Dr. Marcus Hale, sitting beside her, looked tired. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. They've completely replaced 3 national governments, he said, pointing at the data on his screen. Each one now operates under a conquered guidance charter. No elections. No debate, just instructions from orbit. Evelyn frowned. And the people? They're quiet. Too quiet. Food is free. Jobs are assigned. No one wants to cause trouble when their bellies are full. She sighed. That's how you make a cage soft enough that people stop noticing the bars. Marcus hesitated. You think they'll stop there? No, Evelyn said firmly. They never stop. Not until we forget what it means to be human. Across the world, the Concord's aid centers grew in number. They offered free shelter, free education, and free health services. Every visitor was scanned, registered, and given an identification implant. a small crystal embedded under the skin that glowed faintly when near Concord tech. The aliens said it helped them personalize services. But to the Resistance, it was nothing more than a tracking device. Reports began to surface of people disappearing after questioning the Concord. Teachers, journalists, soldiers, anyone who asked too many questions. Their names vanished from records, their homes reassigned to others. Families received polite messages. Your loved one has been relocated for special service. No one ever saw them again. Evelyn and her team collected the data. They hacked into Concord communications, decoding alien transmissions with Earth-made software patched together from scraps. It wasn't easy. The Concord used encrypted light signals faster than any human system could read. But humans were stubborn. After weeks of work, Marcus cracked a partial code. The intercepted message was chilling. Phase 2 of integration, begin resource extraction and genetic evaluation. Subject species compliant. Evelyn read it twice, her stomach twisting. Genetic evaluation, she whispered. They're studying us, Marcus nodded grimly. I think they're testing which humans can survive long-term adaptation to Concord biology. The ones who can't, they call them unfit for continuation. Silence filled the room. No one needed to ask what that meant. Meanwhile, on the surface, the Concord continued their charm. Their ambassadors toured every country, speaking gently about unity. They held public events where alien healers cured sicknesses in front of cheering crowds. They gave children glowing toys that floated in the air. They called humans our younger siblings in the stars. It was perfect. Too perfect. Evelyn's group called themselves the Undaunted. Their numbers grew as more people saw through the lies. Pilots, engineers, even farmers joined them. They smuggled old Earth technology into hidden bunkers, missile parts, satellite cores, AI processors, anything that could be rebuilt into a defense. Evelyn's message to them was always the same. Don't strike yet. Learn first. When we fight smart. In the city of London, a small rebellion sparked by accident. A Concord officer struck a man for refusing to enter a registration center. The crowd reacted. In minutes, thousands of people surrounded the alien convoy, throwing stones, shouting, refusing to disperse. The Concord called it a public disorder event. When the smoke cleared, the protesters were gone. London's skies turned silent. Official broadcasts said the people were relocated for rehabilitation, but Evelyn's networks picked up hidden camera footage. Streets lined with silver drones, and people herded into transport ships. Humanity started to whisper again. The word gratitude became bitter in their mouths. Marcus worked day and night decoding alien blueprints. They use organic processors, he explained, showing Evelyn a glowing chip on his table. It's alive, part machine, part organism. If we can learn how it bonds to power, maybe we can hijack it. Evelyn nodded. Do it. If they can control us with their machines, we'll turn their machines against them. He gave her a tired grin. That's the human way. The Concord grew more careful. They began broadcasting messages filled with soft warnings. Resistance brings suffering. Cooperation brings prosperity. Harmony is strength. Anger is chaos. And yet under that calm voice, the resistance kept spreading. From African deserts to Martian mining stations, humans passed messages in secret. Some painted symbols on walls, 3 red lines and 1 white circle. The mark of the undaunted, it became a quiet promise. We see. We remember. We're coming back. One night, Evelyn received a message from an old friend, a pilot named Captain Reynolds, who once commanded Earth's orbital fleet before it was decommissioned. Evelyn, I found something, his message said. Old weapons cache under the Pacific, hidden before the Concord came. Automated defense drones, unarmed but functional. We can rebuild them. Evelyn's heart raced. For the first time, hope felt real. Meanwhile, the Concord held a massive celebration in New York. They called it Unity Day, marking 1 year of peaceful integration. Thousands attended. Huge holograms of alien leaders filled the sky. Their voices echoed across the city. One galaxy, one people, one destiny. As the crowd cheered, Concord soldiers patrolled quietly in the background, scanning faces, tracking movement, recording emotions. The celebration looked like joy, but under every smile there was fear. Even in the crowd, people whispered softly, We didn't ask for this. We didn't ask for them. Back in her base, Evelyn watched the broadcast with cold eyes. They're celebrating their control, she said quietly. Marcus leaned forward. We can't wait much longer. Once they start the genetic phase, we'll lose millions. Evelyn nodded. Then it's time. She turned to the others in the room. They expected thanks. They expected silence. But we are not the species that bows. We survived ice, fire, and our own mistakes. We'll survive them too. The room fell quiet, but every face glowed with determination. Evelyn pointed at the holographic map of Earth and orbiting conquered fleets. We strike when their faith in control is strongest. We'll remind them that gratitude isn't obedience and kindness without freedom isn't peace. That night, she sent out the coded message across secret human channels. Phase 1 begins. Prepare the skies. Somewhere above Earth, old satellites flickered to life. Buried AIs reactivated. Hidden bunkers opened. The spark that had started as whispers began to grow into a flame. In orbit, a conquered commander named Vereen watched the human transmissions with cold curiosity. He turned to his subordinate. They were meant to be grateful, Vereen said. We gave them peace. His aide replied softly. They call peace by another name. Chains. Vereen frowned. Then they must learn obedience. He didn't realize yet. Humans had already learned something else. They had learned that the only thing stronger than alien control was human defiance. Evelyn stood outside her base, watching the silver ships gleaming above the clouds. They looked so calm, so sure of victory. She whispered to herself, You gave us medicine, food, and light. But you forgot what else burns bright, our will. As she turned back toward the base, the power came alive, and the underground lights flickered on. All across the hidden network, human hands moved with quiet fury, rebuilding what the Concord thought they had erased. The aid that had chained humanity was about to become the key to its retribution. The world had grown quiet on the surface, but deep underground, humanity was preparing a storm. Commander Evelyn Cross paced across the dimly lit control room of the Andean base. Holographic maps of Earth and the orbiting conquered fleets flickered across the walls. Every ship, every drone, every energy hub had been carefully charted by human eyes. For too long they expected gratitude, Evelyn said, her voice firm. Now it's our turn to act. Dr. Marcus Hale adjusted the display, zooming in on one of the Concorde's orbital carriers above the Pacific. We've identified a vulnerability in their energy shields, he said. It's small, temporary, but enough for a precise strike. Evelyn's eyes gleamed. Then that's where we begin. The plan was daring, almost impossible. For decades, humans had been taught obedience and fear, but they had also been taught creativity, resilience, and courage. These traits, imperfect but brilliant, had survived wars, disasters, and endless challenges. Now humanity would use those strengths against the conquered Project Ares, an old orbital defense system abandoned years ago, became their secret weapon. Once designed to defend Earth against asteroids, it had been reconfigured into a railgun capable of piercing conquered shields. Every part of the system had been rebuilt by hand, scavenged from old satellites, mining equipment, and underground AI processors. It was imperfect, but it was human. As night fell over the Andes, Evelyn's team gathered for the final briefing. We strike at dawn, she said, pointing to the holographic carrier. One shot, one chance. We disable their main fleet control and show the galaxy what humans are capable of. A soft murmur ran through the room. Engineers, pilots, and soldiers nodded. Each person carried the weight of Earth's future. None of them had illusions of safety, but all of them carried hope. Marcus added, We've hacked their communication network. Conquered systems will see the strike as a technical error, buying us precious minutes before they respond. After that, the human world moves together, quietly, smartly, and without fear. Evelyn's gaze swept the room. Remember this, they expected thanks. They expected silence. We will give them neither. At first light, human drones lifted from hidden bunkers across the Pacific. Small, unarmed ships had been modified to carry magnetic pulses capable of disrupting conquered systems. The sky was silent except for the faint hum of Earth-made engines. Evelyn watched from the control room, her fingers tight on the console. Every second stretched into an eternity. Then came the signal. Project Ares fired. A single railgun shot raced through space, cutting through the vacuum with unstoppable force. It struck the conquered carrier, piercing the outer hull. The ship shuddered and emitted a blinding light before vanishing from sensors entirely. The control room erupted. Cheers, tears, and whispered prayers filled the air. Humanity had struck first and successfully, but the conquered was not weak. Across the fleet, alarms blared. Every Concord commander scoured the sensors, searching for the source. They expected gratitude, obedience, and shock. Instead, they found strategy, skill, and courage. Humans were no longer passive. Commander Vereen floated in his command bridge, eyes wide. "How?" he muttered. "They should not have the capacity." "Not yet." His aide replied cautiously. "Sir, it appears they've combined old technology with new tactics. Their unpredictability is extraordinary." Vareen's calm mask slipped. Humans had done the impossible, and now they would continue. Back on Earth, the strike ignited something long buried. Across every continent, humans began taking small, deliberate steps of defiance. In Africa, mining ships were converted into assault drones, their drills repurposed as weapons. In Europe, farmers modified tractors into armored carriers capable of breaching conquered checkpoints. Underground bunkers around the world activated, sharing plans, energy, and information. For the first time, humanity was moving in unison, not under orders, but under a shared determination to reclaim freedom. Evelyn's communications network buzzed non-stop. Every message carried the same word: resistance. It was no longer a whisper. It was a roar. The Concorde responded with threats, broadcasting their cold, calm messages across every frequency. Resistance is futile. Humanity is under protection. Submission ensures survival. But the human response was different. No one begged. No one yielded. Across secret channels, one message spread faster than any Concorde broadcast. "You do not control us. You do not scare us. You will not break us." Even children whispered it. Even farmers, engineers, and teachers repeated it. The spirit of humanity had been awakened, and it could not be silenced. In the Andean base, Evelyn prepared for the next step. "Disabling one carrier was only the beginning," she said. "Now we show them the power of unpredictability. They have logic, structure, and control. We have loyalty, courage, and chaos. That is our advantage." Marcus handed her a tablet displaying the next target, the main conquered orbital hub above Asia. "We've mapped a weak point in their central energy matrix. If we hit it, it will disrupt their communications globally for at least one full cycle." Evelyn nodded. "Then we strike at night. When they feel secure, we remind them that humans do not bow." As the night fell, a small fleet of human ships launched from hidden bases. Pilots had trained for months, moving silently through the stars, their movements unpredictable and adaptive. The conquered sensors struggled to track them. For all their advanced technology, the aliens could not predict human ingenuity. Each maneuver, each tactic seemed impossible to anticipate. Evelyn's voice came over the comm. "Remember your training, but trust your instincts. You are not following orders. You are acting as humanity itself. Every action counts." The strike began with coordinated precision. A series of pulse drones attacked the central hub, temporarily disabling shields. Human railguns fired from orbit, cutting through the outer walls of conquered control stations. Energy surges spread through the fleet, causing systems to fail in sequence. Conquered ships attempted countermeasures, but their rigid command hierarchy slowed them. For the first time, the Conquered witnessed chaos, and it belonged to humans. In the Andean control room, the team watched the fleet shatter in simulations and live data feeds. Small drones darted through corridors, disrupting power lines and navigation systems. Conquered soldiers were thrown into confusion. For the first time, humans were dictating the pace of the battle. Evelyn allowed herself a rare smile. "They thought we would be grateful. They thought we would be silent. And look at them now." But the strike came at a cost. Even in victory, the humans faced losses. Several pilots were lost to orbital debris. Communication lines were disrupted, leaving some units isolated. Marcus checked the casualty data silently. "It's still worth it," he said finally. Evelyn nodded. "Yes, every life matters, but every victory counts more. They must understand that humanity does not surrender. Not ever." The team worked quickly to stabilize the fleet. Repair drones moved to recover lost equipment, while energy rerouting ensured the railguns remained operational. Even in the middle of conflict, humans adapted, repaired, and innovated. Their strength was not in perfection, It was in persistence. Across Earth, news of the strike spread in secret channels. Workers, students, and citizens whispered stories of human courage. They spoke of the first successful attack on the Concord, of clever tactics and unexpected victories. Morale soared. Humanity had remembered its own strength. Even those who had once welcomed the Concord with open arms began to see the truth. Peace without freedom was not peace at all, and in hidden bunkers the undaunted prepared for the next phase. The spark of retribution had become ablaze. As dawn broke over the Andes, Evelyn stood outside the base. The stars above faded into the morning sky, but the memory of last night's victories burned brightly in her mind. They expected thanks, she said softly. They expected obedience. They underestimated our spirit, Marcus joined her. They'll respond, he warned. The Concord won't forget this. Evelyn's gaze drifted to the horizon. Let them come, she said. They will learn that humans repay kindness with courage, treachery with retribution. For the first time in centuries, humanity had shown the galaxy what it truly meant to be alive and free. The first sparks of rebellion had become flames. Humanity, once cautious and subdued, now moved with precision and determination. Across Earth, from the Arctic research stations to the deserts of Africa, humans coordinated through hidden networks, sharing data, resources, and strategies. Commander Evelyn Cross watched the holographic map in the Andean base. Red dots represented human forces, blue dots marked the Concord fleets, and green indicated neutral regions. The map had never looked so alive. They think a single strike would scare us, Evelyn said, her voice steady. They have no idea what we are capable of when we move together. Dr. Marcus Hale adjusted the simulation. Their fleets are reorganizing. They're sending reinforcements to defend the main control hubs. Evelyn leaned forward. Good. That means we know where to hit next. The Concord had underestimated humanity. They relied on logic, hierarchy, and predictable strategies. But humans thrived in chaos. Where Concord fleets moved in straight lines, humans twisted and adapted, striking from unexpected angles. Where Concord soldiers followed orders without question, humans relied on instinct, loyalty, and courage. This unpredictability became their greatest weapon. In the skies above Africa, mining ships retrofitted with makeshift weapons launched surprise strikes on Concord supply lines. Farmers guided armored tractors across valleys to breach checkpoints, using knowledge of the terrain that no alien could calculate. Pilots from old Earth programs navigated abandoned satellites, using them as firing platforms. Every human action was a combination of instinct, ingenuity, and determination. In orbit, the Concord commanders panicked. They should not have the capacity for coordinated strikes, Commander Vereen said, his voice tight. Sir, one aide responded, they are adapting, faster than expected. Vereen stared at the sensor feeds. Human ships darted between carriers, strike after strike, and then disappeared before retaliation could begin. Alert all units, he barked. Track them, contain them, and report every anomaly. But containment was impossible. Humanity could not be predicted. They had no rigid structure to exploit. Evelyn oversaw the next phase of the operation. Tonight we hit the cradle, she said, pointing at the largest Concord station in orbit above Europe. This is where they direct fleets, control communication, and monitor Earth. If we succeed, we cripple their command. If we fail, she did not finish the sentence. Failure was not an option. Marcus studied the energy matrices. The shields are stronger than anything we've faced. We'll need a coordinated strike using railguns, pulse drones, and diversion teams. Timing is critical. Evelyn nodded. Humans excel at timing. Trust your instincts and trust each other. As darkness fell, human forces launched from hidden orbital platforms, disguised cargo ships, and underground bunkers. The night sky was filled with silent streaks of fire, magnetic pulse drones, railgun slugs, and retrofitted fighters moving in perfect synchrony. The Concorde sensors struggled to track them. Every maneuver seemed impossible to anticipate. Every strike hit exactly where it needed to. From the base, Evelyn's voice echoed over the comms. Stay focused. Protect each other. Remember, we are humanity itself, not soldiers following orders, but humans defending our world. The attack began with a coordinated strike on the cradle's outer shields. Human pulse drones generated temporary energy fluctuations, weakening the alien defenses. Railguns fired from hidden satellites, each shot calculated to bypass the outer hull, without triggering the station's auto-defense systems. Inside the cradle, Concord soldiers scrambled to respond. Systems flickered, alarms blared, and communication channels collapsed under the overload. For the first time, humans controlled the pace of battle. Marcus cheered quietly as he monitored energy readings. Shields are down, just long enough for orbital boarding teams. Evelyn smiled grimly. Good. Let's remind them what humans can do. Human boarding teams moved with calculated precision. Using stealth pods and magnetic grappling systems, they infiltrated the cradle, bypassing corridors and disabling security protocols. Soldiers and engineers worked side by side, improvising tools and tactics on the spot. Every step was a blend of human creativity and courage. Inside, Concord soldiers were caught off guard. They expected fear, silence, and compliance. Instead, they faced humans who refused to retreat, humans who adapted to every trap, humans who fought not because they were ordered, but because freedom demanded it. The battle inside the cradle spread quickly. Human engineers disabled energy relays, causing localized blackouts. Soldiers used magnetic pulses to knock alien weapons offline. Pilots directed drones to create diversions while boarding teams struck critical systems. Every attack was coordinated, but every attack also contained an element of unpredictability. Conquered commanders watched in disbelief. Their advanced calculations could not account for the human mind. Every move was new, unexpected, and effective. "Sir, they are." Thinking independently, one aide stammered. Varine's face hardened. Then they must be stopped. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans celebrated small victories in secret. In Asia, conquered supply hubs were disrupted, leaving fleets stranded and energy systems unstable. In the Americas, communication towers transmitted encrypted human messages to resistance cells worldwide. Every success fueled morale, reminding humanity that they were capable of taking back what was theirs. And every success made the conquered more desperate, more predictable, and more vulnerable. The final stage of the operation targeted the central command matrix inside the cradle. Marcus and Evelyn coordinated the strike from the Andean base. "Pulse drones ready," Marcus said, voice steady but tense. "Railguns aligned, boarding teams in position." Evelyn's hand hovered over the activation console. "On my mark, 3, 2, 1, mark." A wave of energy surged through the cradle. Shields flickered, lights went out, and critical systems failed. Human boarding teams reached the command center. Every soldier, every engineer, every pilot moved with synchronized purpose. For the first time in the Conquered's history, their command was under human control. As the cradle fell, the orbital fleet above Europe descended into chaos. Signals were lost, coordination failed, and isolated Concorde ships struggled to respond. Humanity had turned their greatest strength, their command network, against them. Evelyn's voice over the comms was calm, but full of power. They expected thanks. They expected silence. They were wrong. We are humanity, and we do not surrender. The words echoed across the solar system, broadcast from hidden human channels to every secret network. Every human who heard it felt a surge of pride, courage, and determination. In the aftermath, the Conquered withdrew temporarily. Their fleets were scattered, their control disrupted. It was the first real defeat they had experienced at the hands of a primitive species. Commander Varine stared at the reports in disbelief. They fight with unpredictability, emotion, and loyalty. Systems are not enough to control them. His aide whispered, "Sir, they are remarkable." Varine said nothing. Words were useless. For the first time, the Conquered realized that the humans they had expected to thank them had the power to destroy their plans entirely. Back on Earth, the Resistance celebrated quietly. Evelyn addressed her team, her eyes bright but serious. "This is only the beginning. We have shown them that humanity cannot be controlled. But the fight is not over. They will retaliate. We must be ready." Marcus nodded. "We've learned something crucial tonight. Humans adapt faster than any machine," Evelyn said. "And we never give up." The room fell silent for a moment, filled with pride, exhaustion, and resolve. They were tired, but they were alive. And they had reminded the galaxy of something vital. Humans are not to be underestimated. That night, Evelyn stood on the ridge outside the base, looking at the stars. The remnants of conquered ships shimmered faintly in orbit, their lights flickering like distant fireflies. "They thought we would be grateful," she whispered. They thought obedience was our nature. But we are humans. We repay kindness with loyalty, treachery with retribution. Marcus joined her. And now the galaxy knows it. Evelyn smiled faintly. Let them see. Let them remember. And let them fear what happens when humans fight for their freedom. Below them, the underground networks hummed with life. Hidden factories worked through the night, producing new weapons, drones, and supplies. Pilots trained in secret. Engineers tested new railguns, and strategists planned the next move. Humanity had ignited the spark. And now that spark would become a wildfire.